Hi, this is the Voice of Heidie Calero with the last of the economic capsules of year 2020. What a year has been 2020. Don't forget, those of you who like our economic capsules, to go to YouTube and give us a like under the Voice of Heidie Calero. Today, what we are going to do is sort of go through the year in review with what I consider to be important economic events that have shaped this year, 2020. Let's use some of the covers of local newspapers as well as covers of The Economist to illustrate the points that we want to share with you. The first one in Puerto Rico was the angst that was produced in the south of the island early January because of earthquakes. Remember, this is 2020. We had just been out of Hurricane Maria back in September of 2017, and we have yet to be recovered. Housing, infrastructure, electrical, water, roads, housing. It's been really a shakeup. So that was the first challenge that we started the year. All these people in the south who were now without housing, with bridges and roads broken, and of course the shakeup that also extended to the rest of the island in different months. It was not just January. So that was how 2020 started in Puerto Rico. Then we had COVID-19, the pandemic, worldwide, and in Puerto Rico the first shakeup started in February of 2020, and the first executive order of COVID-19 by Governor Wanda Vasquez was in March 15, and that was a total shutdown. Government, trade, businesses, only essential services such as health, garbage disposal and collection, police, firemen, all the health services, and in terms of retail trade, supermarkets, drugstores, gas stations, and probably hardware stores. Those were among the ones that were really open, and there was a curfew from 7 p.m. to 5 a.m. So a lot of time, and people were asked to stay at home, stay safe, because nobody knew how this virus was going to be evolving in terms of Puerto Rico. And that order continued until May of 2020, when some of these executive orders were flexibilized so that the economy started gradually opening. Thank God, Puerto Rico's hospital system at first was not really challenged, same as in the States, which has occurred in 2020. Then we had, and of course, the economy has been one of the bad fatalities in 2020. Globalization worldwide had been a trend that had permeated the entire globe. Well, with COVID-19, the shift turned more towards in borders production, because all these supply chains were threatened by COVID-19, be it because they could not be exported from China or India. So the US started, and many other countries in Europe started looking at their supply chains so as to reduce the risk of not receiving the inputs that they needed for production. And for Puerto Rico, it could have been and still can be a great opportunity for all the pharmaceutical centers that we have here, so that under US flag, Puerto Rico could provide that safety measures of that supply chain for the US. So goodbye globalization. We'll see how long that shift lasts. Then we had our infrastructure, especially the electrical infrastructure, the electrical system, which was so badly damaged with Hurricane Maria in 2017, and carrying the burden of a huge debt load that was being renegotiated until COVID-19 appeared back in March of 2020. So a public-private partnership started negotiating a Luma Corporation with the distribution and with the transmission of electricity for this public corporation in terms of the electrical system. It's a contract that is still under discussion, and will have more to be talked about in 2021. Then next we saw the 21st century movement towards electrical clean energy. The United States, with President Trump, pulled the U.S. out of the climate treaty. I think with President-elect Biden, we might see again the leadership of the U.S. in this important trend, and certainly clean energy will also be one of the topics in Puerto Rico, especially with the Puerto Rico Electric Power Authority. There are countries now that have been moving towards 2030, 2050, coal-free, more manufacturing of electrical cars. So I think the shift and the trend is for real this time. COVID-19 really shook all this renegotiation and put it on hold for the public debt that was being renegotiated with the PROMESA board in front of the federal judge Laura Taylor Swain under the PROMESA Act. So put on hold, but already the judge has been saying, hey, February 21, you better come with an agreement, bondholders as well as Puerto Rico, as to what they're going to do with the public debt of the Puerto Rico Electric Power Authority and of other public debt that are still at issue in Puerto Rico. And with new members of the PROMESA Oversight Board, there are going to be more and more pressure on Puerto Rico that start paying the debt service. So enormous challenges for 2021 in terms of recovering the economy and getting the fiscal revenues to service this public debt. The U.S. economy shrinking because unemployment has been rising, so much of a shutdown, 90% of the economy, so 10% the U.S. economy has shrunk, and in Puerto Rico it has been almost 30% since 2006 when the recession, or rather the depression in Puerto Rico, started in 2007. Our GNP in real terms has become 30% smaller, so it's going to take a while before we can regain that territory, but regain we must. The debt, the federal debt in the U.S. is also a shadow hanging over the next administrations, and that is already, the federal debt is almost 104, 105 of U.S. gross domestic product, something that had not been seen maybe since Second World War. But for now, it's first the conquest of COVID-19 and the relief packages that must be given to the U.S. And its territories so that the U.S. economy can really start recovering. We saw part of the fatalities of the COVID-19. It's not only the shutdown of many small and medium businesses, but also in terms of education. Remote learning has been really one of the terrible things that have been occurring in Puerto Rico. Even now, at the end of 2020, the Department of Education in Puerto Rico now has been giving some of the computers to these public schools and to these very remote areas where public education students have not had the same advantages as maybe the private schools. So generations to come, that gap will not close easily. So the inequities, not only in income distribution, but in terms of education, are going to be widened even further. Well, as in the States, we also had an election. Governor-elect is Pedro Pierluisi, so enormous challenges for 2021. He starts in January 2nd of 2021. And in the U.S., also same election, we have President-elect Joe Biden being threatened in terms of all this electoral system by somebody that I could not finish this presentation without mentioning President Trump. All these conspiracy theories, a menace to democracy in the U.S., all eyes in the world looking at the leadership of the U.S. and how this president has been behaving. He still has practically 20 days in January of 2021 before President-elect takes the election. He has been the presidency. President Trump has been a loser, a bad loser. And even at the 11th hour, when Congress had moved towards a second package that has been trying to negotiate since May of 2020 to provide relief to all these people who are going hungry, unemployed, probably to be evicted, state and local governments also on the verge of bankruptcy. At the 11th hour, he just throws water on that negotiation, certainly all the pardon that he has given to people who really do not deserve it, it calls into question the leadership of President Trump. And certainly I could not finish. 2020 has been the worst year that we've seen in many, many decades, and we want to see it gone. But obviously, all the challenges remain for 2021. Until next capsule, I hope you have a great, happy new year, COVID-free. Stay safe. Thank you. Bye.